Hey folks, this is AJ, and in this video we're going to continue our learning Davinci Resolve with part 2. So let's go. Hey folks, AJ the CEO here. If this is your first time stopping by the channel, thanks for stopping by. And on this channel we focus on tips, training, strategies, reviews, and builds to help modernize your media ministry. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. And if you like what we're doing here, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com. Link is in the description. So this is part 2 of our Learning Davinci Resolve. I highly recommend, if you're completely new to Davinci Resolve, to watch part 1, because we're going to assume that you know a lot of the stuff that we mentioned, and we're going to be adding on to that. Just because this series is no way to continually repeat what we've already been done, so that's why we're doing this in a series. All right, so in the description there are a bunch of assets, videos that I need you to download, because that's what we're going to be using today in this whole training. So let's go ahead and just cut over to the computer. All right, let's go ahead and open up Davinci Resolve. And while that's happening, this is the folder that I just placed all of this under, Learning Davinci Resolve. All the files are here. So we're going to try and do a bunch of stuff with this. We're just going to do some sample, making our first video, rendering our first video, adding some text, doing transitions, and maybe doing something fancy. It all depends. So I got my Davinci Resolve here, which I need to switch back to single screen. We have our database that we made, and I'm gonna come in here, and this is gonna be lesson 2. All right, so we got everything here. So first we need to go down here to our media tab. So we need to look over here in our media tab, and we're gonna load our assets. So remember how you can go in here and navigate and find them, or since I already had this folder up, I'm just going to drag them. But we're going to do this a little different here. We're going to right click under master, and we're going to do add new bin, or you can do Control Shift N, whichever one. And we're going to name this stock, because we're going to work on trying to get our stuff organized while we're doing this. So let's drag, import, whatever, into the bin with that selected. And you see it's going to change the frame rate. That's fine. Let's go ahead and hit change. All right, because some of this is in 4K, if not higher. Some of it is in 1080p. That's perfectly fine. Not a big deal. And there are multiple frame rates, so don't worry about that. So now that we got everything here, let's go over to the edit tab, and you might be seeing, hey, AJ, your cut tab is missing. To do that, because I told you I don't use the cut, I came here to workspace, show page, and I unchecked cut, so that way it doesn't show up down here, because I really don't use it. So that's the reason why I don't have it on here. All right, so let's go over here to edit now. And we're going to do something really, really simple here. Let's go ahead and close Inspector if it's open. And let's go to our effects library first. And I'm going to click this down arrow to make it take up full screen. These are all the effects that you can do. And you see some of these have a star beside it. That adds to your favorites window. So these are the ones I normally use all the time. So that's the reason why I have it like this. And we're going to do that on a couple of these. So let's come over here. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Let's go to video transition, check off blur dissolve, check the star beside it, check off cross dissolve, then also check off push and slide, that's under video, skip audio, under titles check off text and text plus, and actually I need to add slide because I've been using that, scroll, I've been using that more, so I'll check off scroll. Let's make that window a little bit bigger so we can see everything. All right, we're gonna go to generators, check off solid color. Click the star, I keep saying check off that. And that is about it. All right, so now we can shrink this window and just make sure that your favorites are available there. All right, now let's go to our media pool. And as you can see, we have, if you double click on the footage here, it will show and give you a preview inside of the left screen. So we got a couple of videos of people praising and worshiping, a city skyline, and then a laptop, and then we have a sunset. All right, so what we're gonna do is start with these three for worship. So they're labeled 4791, 92, 93. So what we're gonna do is take all three of these and just drag them down here, and now they're gonna be added to our timeline. All right, and they put them in order because of how we did it. You can do it one at a time if you want, or just select them all and just bring them down. All right, so if we hit the space bar or hit play on this side, the video will play through. And you see our timer is going here. So this is a pretty long clip, about 22 seconds, something like that. That first one at least is, and then this last one is shorter. So just playing through it, hey, that's really cool. So you can use this as stock footage for some type of service or anything like that, but we're just gonna play around with this. So say, you know what, I like this, but this is going on too long, all right? So what we're gonna do is come over here, and let's say, I'm gonna scroll through here, and I'm just holding down the left mouse button, and let's just say I wanna cut this at, let's do the perfect number, let's do 7. And I'm gonna press the B key or the blade tool here, and at 7 seconds, I'm gonna go ahead and click right there and cut that clip. Now, let's select this next clip, the other half that was split, and there's two ways to delete. If you press the delete button with this selected, it's gonna slide everything over. Now that seems good sometimes, but realize if we had other footage on the other timelines, that it would move that as well too. So we wanna be careful with that. So let me do my other picture-in-picture here. So that way, because I'm looking at the camera, but not really talking. So, you know, you might not want to do that. So let's hit Control-Z to undo that. So we can click here, hit backspace, and then it will delete, and you'll maintain the space, and then you could, you know, select the clips and move them the way you want to. All right. So we got this clip is at 7 seconds. Now let's go to this one and do 7 seconds as well, which would be at 14. Let's use the blade tool, and we're gonna cut right there as well too. I'm gonna use delete this time, just because I don't want to move the space out of that way. And then let's go another 7 seconds. 21, blade, boom. And get rid of that. So now, if we go through here, now just plays through, then it's gonna cut directly to the next scene, and then it's gonna cut to the next video. But it's not very long, all right? So now what I like to do is these buttons right here are your magnifiers. If we click on this one, it will take our timeline with our footage and make it extend the entire length of our timeline that's within view. So let's go ahead and do that, all right? Now, sometimes with your computer, if your computer is not powerful enough to handle this, as you can see, all these thumbnails are being made for all of my clips. The closer that you zoom in, the more it will show. I don't really need that. I just want to see the first thumbnail from the very beginning, as well as the ending of the clip. So we're going to come over here to this little button here, our timeline view options, click on that, and we want to do this middle option right here for a thumb. And now the CPU, the GPU is not having to render this stuff out. It's just making the first and last. It gives you a little bit of boosted performance. And even though mine can run it, I like it like that. I don't want to see all those pictures. All right. So there we go. So, you know, this is fine. But what if we don't want to have a hard cut? There's a couple of ways you can do this. If you move your mouse over to where these clips are where they merge, we can right click and we want to do a dissolve of 12 frames, 24 frames, 48 frames. Let's do 24. And for this one, because we cut it, it's saying it's gonna do trim the clips and all this other stuff. So that's fine. Let's click on trim clips. All right. So it added some more so it can do the dissolve. If we didn't make any cuts at all, you wouldn't have got that message. So let's do that again on the next clip, 24, same thing, trim clips. All right, so now we did that for 24 frames, which should be around 1 second based off of our timeline that we're using. So now let's go ahead and play it and see how that transition happens now. See, a lot smoother that it goes in between. Real simple. But what if you didn't want to do that? Let's go ahead and delete that transition just by clicking on it and deleting it. And now let's go back to our effects library and let's play around with these. Now cross dissolve is the same thing we just did, but let's do a blur. Drag that in between those video clips, and now let's play it. See, now we have that different effect. Now me personally, I have these two because that's the ones I use a lot, but there are plenty other ones. So let's go back to video transitions and let's look at additive dissolve, and then let's do smooth cut on this one. Let's see what those look like. See, I like that one. Now the next one is a smooth cut, and it does kind of like a little I was getting ready to say shimmer, but that's not it. But you know, you can play with all different type of the transitions. I mean, you got other ones that do the arrow, and let's see what that one does. See, it makes an arrow in different shapes for your transition. You can play around with these. Now, I also use the push. Let's look at what that one does. You know, and then slide. Slide here. And actually, I should have not undid that. Say if you put it right here and it's like, wait a minute, that's not where I want it. You can always click on this, the transition, then go to inspector, and now you have your settings here. So I wanted that to not be at the start, I want it to be on the center, and then it'll move it back. Or you want to say at the end, and that's where it can move where you want, but we wanted this on the center. All right, so let's play that now. See, slide just pushes it all over. I mean, slide, I'm using the words wrong. Slide slides the other video clip in place, and then pushes the old one and the new one in, so it replaces it. So play around with those, whichever ones that you like. Those are really simple. So now, let's be a little bit creative. I'm gonna not use the color wheel, but I'm gonna just show you what I normally do for if I wanted to change a color of this. So if we still marked off our favorites effects, we should have solid color. Let's click on that and bring that down over top of this clip, and we're gonna make a new timeline. I mean, a new track. Let's click on the end. As you see, our mouse changes here, and we want to drag this for the whole length of our clip. And you can't see nothing because it's a solid black color. Let's click on this, the solid color, and go to inspector. Here you can change the color, and let's say we're gonna go with this, let's go with red. Hey, you still can't see nothing. But let's go ahead and you can change the composition mode to color, and now you see we have a color tint over the entire clip. And you know, you can play around with the opacity of this just to give just a hint of red or that color, anything like that. So you could play around with this. So say your accent color, like at my church, we use C20000. That's the kind of crimson that we use. So I can add a hint of that just to have my accent color like that if you want to. Just something creative that you can play around with. And then in the same time, we want to play with our transitions and stuff like that. So very simple so far. All right, let's close the inspector and let's drag this down so we can have some more space. If you come over here to your timeline options, let's go ahead and change the height of our video and audio. And this is little scroll wheel bar, so you can move this to the left to change the sizes of everything so it's easier to see. I'm just doing this because I'm on a single monitor. It makes it easier for me to see what I'm gonna do next. All right, so let's go ahead and add a new track. That's another way that you can add it, or you can just drag it, doesn't really matter. Let's add a track. And what we're gonna do now is select the text, not text plus, but text. Let's bring this down here, all right? And just like we have transitions with video, we can do transitions with text as well too. So the first thing, what we're gonna do is, if you notice, when you move your mouse over any asset, you have these little white blocks at the end of each of your clip. What we're gonna do is, this is another way for us to do a fade in and a fade out. So we're gonna click on this and you see the mouse changes to this. I'm gonna drag this and I wanna do this for, because 24 would be a full second. Let's do it for 1 second or 24 frames. And we'll just leave it like this, all right? So what's gonna happen is, if we play, see the text shows up here. Now what we wanna do is, let's select this text, left for that truck to go past. Let's click on text, and then we're gonna click on inspector. Now we can change what's gonna be in here. So we'll just say, welcome to eChurch. I don't know, I'm just coming up with something. So just like with Word, anything like that, you can change all of the properties of your text. Right now it's in Times New Roman. Select this and pick whatever font you want. I'm gonna do Arial because I think everybody should have that. All right, and then you can change the weight of it. So I'm gonna make it bold. And still, it's kind of hard for it to pick. I don't know what color y'all picked for that highlight color, but I want this to stand out. So let's scroll down a little bit, and inside of here, and if your inspector is not taking a full screen, you have that button right here beside it, the arrow that will make it take the full length of the screen. So let's go ahead and scroll down. We're gonna go to a drop shadow. Drop shadow will make it stand out a little bit. So we're gonna do an offset of the X, which is this way, and the Y-axis this way. So what we're gonna do is offset this by 0.5. And then the Y-axis, we're gonna do a, actually that's not 5, it should be 5. Now you can see it. And then on the Y-axis, we're gonna do -6. So now you can see that shadow sticking out. Now you always could do a stroke, which is an outline around the text, and that's what this is. So you can change that, make it stand out a little bit more. I have that on 3. I mean, you can go crazy with it if you wanted to, but 3 is kind of good. So it breaks it up so it's easy to see what's going on. All right. You could put a background in there. I'm not going to mess with that, but let's go back to the very beginning, and now let's play it. And boom, there you go. So let's say we want to make the transitions the same time these change, and I got rid of my transition. So let's do the crossfade here, and then I'm gonna do a push on this one. And we want this to change at the same time. So I'm gonna drag this, and as you see, by default, it's gonna snap to every position where there are other intersections inside of Davinci Resolve, whatever element. So see, this is sticking to that transition. If I move it again, it sticks to the change of the video clip. You can turn that off if you didn't want that by clicking on this magnet right here for snapping or the letter N. I like to keep that on. It makes it easy. I turn it off when I want to do really intricate stuff. I want it to time specifically outside of snapping to a different element. But we're gonna leave that on, and we're gonna snap it to the actual change of the video source. All right, so now let's go ahead and, I want to keep all the same settings. So let's go ahead and click on this text, right click on it, and let's copy it. Let's move our cursor right to the end of this clip, and now let's paste it. And now all the same settings are there, everything. But we don't want this fade in and fade out. Let's move that here. Well, actually, let's keep that. And let's fade out the other one, the first one, to 1 second. So if we play it, see, it'll fade in and out like that. So now let's change this to the text on this next one too. And let's figure out what we're gonna put here. Say, complete online experience. All right, so say that's a little bit too big. Maybe we want to change that. Let's highlight all of this, and then under your size, you can use the bar here, or you can just move your mouse over the numbers, or you can just type it in if you want. I like to click on the number and just scroll to the left to shrink this. All right, so boom, I'm gonna move this to 100. But maybe I don't want this to be right here. We can click on video under the inspector, and now you can change the position, the zoom, the angle, all this other stuff for this option. You can flip it if you wanted to, upside down, horizontal, vertical, it's up to you, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna come over here to this little tool right here. We're gonna click on that has the rectangle with little squares on each corner. And now we're gonna have a box show around here to where now we can move any element that we have selected here by hand. So I'm gonna take this and move it right down here to the bottom. All right, then I uncheck that, and now that tool is off. So if we come here and play this, now we moved it to a completely different location. All right, let's move this to hit where this transition is gonna be. And then let's copy and paste again so we have this last part, all right? Now, we're not gonna do this one. What we're gonna do is inside of here, let's change this, this last text to well, let's do this way actually. Make sure to, no, that's too common. Let's just do like, subscribe, and share. All right, so let's move this one up to the top. So again, I'm gonna do it with the positionings here. So you could just drag the wheel and move it here the way you want it to. Or like I said, that tool, I like that, just doing it that way. All right, so let's do a blur dissolve on this text change. All right, and if you don't like it being that long, you can actually drag it here and change the length of the transition, or since the inspector is still open, you can type in the numbers here and say, oh, this transition is going to be 1 second or 24 frames. So let's play it now. Yep, see? And that's how that would go. So you can come up with something really simple like this with your own type of assets. I mean, you can add a logo, all this other stuff in this if you wanted to, and make your own intro video for your live stream if you wanted to, or any type of stuff. You do the same thing with like announcements or things like that. Now, I didn't cover over music or nothing like that, but we'll cover over that in the next time. This is more of a smaller sample of this one. All right, so like I said, you can use this as an intro, video announcements, whatever that you want. Just be creative with it. We're not gonna do sound right now, but you could pretty much just take a song and then drag it down here on audio, and then it will move. But we will do that in the next lesson. So that was really something simple to get you forward, to get your feet wet a little bit, as they say, on using the Davinci Resolve in their timeline. Now, actually, let's cut back over here because I need to finish this out. Let's go over here and say we want to see our finished work. Let's go to deliver. And then give your, honestly, I would say pick YouTube for right now. YouTube and Vimeo do the exact same thing. Depending on how you had it set up, if you watched the first part, uncheck upload because you don't want it to upload to YouTube unless you really wanted to. And it's going to take over all the settings that we already had. Leave it at that. That's fine. Later on, we can start making those changes. But in this part, we're fine. So let's just give this a title, Lesson 2, 02. And then pick whatever location you want it to render to. I'm going to render it to my F drive because that's the fastest drive I was talking about that I had. And we're going to add to render. I like to do Control S to save just in case, or you can come in here to file and save before I do this. And then start render. And depending on your computer will determine how long it's going to take. This is only 21 seconds. It shouldn't take very long. And now our video is done. So if we come over here to our drive, and let's see, this was lesson 2. And here's the end result. Alrighty. So congratulations. If you made it all the way through here, you've edited your first video in Davinci Resolve and then made and rendered it out. Really simple. That basically what we went through is the foundation of rendering and doing any type of video editing in Davinci Resolve. Yes, it can get more complicated, but that's really simple. And we will amp up what we're doing next time on the next part that we're going to be doing. So please don't get rid of those assets that you downloaded. We didn't use them all in this video, but we will. So anyway, if you like this type of content, I appreciate a like, consider subscribing, and hit that bell. That way you get notified when we come out with other videos to help modernize your media ministry. And I want to shout out the patrons that made this video possible. Their names are on the screen. Thank you so much. You are contributing to helping us train media ministries all over the world. And if you like what we're doing here, you can become a patron as well by the link in the description for as little as $1 a month. And like I said, that goes to help train other great folks like you and other folks all over the world. This is AJ. We will see you on the next video. Later.